Welcome back to Supporting Physician Spouses. I'm Kendra.
And I'm Katie. We are so glad you're here with us today. Today we wanted to pause and acknowledge something. There has been a lot of heaviness in the world lately. Tragic shootings in places of worship and schools, and even the loss of a beloved 101-year-old faith leader. These kinds of events leave many of us feeling shaken, powerless, or just really weighed down.
Yes, and while we can't make those things go away, we can talk about how to steady ourselves in turbulent times, because peace doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means knowing how to ground ourselves when the world feels unsteady.
Yeah, so maybe let's start, Kendra. How are you feeling lately?
You know, discombobulated. When I think back, I think we had a conversation a week or two ago. I had traveled like 2 weekends back to back, and I was just feeling really tired. And then all of these things started happening at the same time, like one right after the other. And that heaviness and tiredness hasn't really gone away. And so I've been in this, what is it? Like, what could it be? Trying to find an answer. And I think that's a very human reaction, is to try to find some cause and to some reason and to be able to attach something to it so it will make sense. And I think I'm just coming to peace with that my body does respond to external events, maybe more so than they have in the past. And so I'm still feeling just tired and worn out. And the combination of all of these things is heavy. And I think it's just what it is right now. How about you?
Yeah, I feel like the last few days I felt like I was having a hard time finding grounding back in the world. Some of these events hit really close to home, really easy to put myself in their shoes, right? I worship in a similar faith background as one of these attacks. My kids are in school, which now feels like a threat, let alone just like personal things going on. My spouse is on an away rotation, which I think just adds to it. Then I can let things fester in my mind. But I've just been trying to feel grounded again and kind of struggling with it, to be honest.
Yeah, and it is also really fresh. We're recording this on September 29th. And so one of the shootings that we're talking about just happened yesterday.
Yeah.
And so this is 24 hours later. And it is. Even when I saw the images of that church building, I'm like, yeah, that looks just like my church building.
And I even have a distant friend, but a fellow med spouse. And she wasn't there that day because she recently had a baby. But other residents were there. Some of their families were affected. Children were affected. And it just hits different when you know people who were involved in that or who are a part of the communities.
That was one of my first thoughts, too, is like, Flint, Michigan, I know we have med spouses in school. I can't remember if it's a med school, if it's just a residency program.
Yeah,
that is in Flint. But
my friend's in residency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Okay. Well, on that note, let's see if we can add some light to the situation and maybe share some of the things that are working for us or that have worked for us in the past.
Yeah. Let's step it out. What are these key things that we can kind of feel grounded in and work through?
Yeah.
So as we've discussed, Kendra, we've kind of felt like step one is to go back to the basics. When the world feels chaotic, it's easy to let go of those simple rhythms, things like drinking water, getting enough sleep, moving our bodies, and eating foods that nourish our bodies. These true basics.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's easy to let those things go because we take them for granted. They are so important. These are not luxuries. These are anchors. These are the types of things that tell your nervous system that you are safe, you are cared for, and that you're going to be all right. And so it might seem too simple to make a difference, having a glass of water and staying hydrated, or taking a short walk when you're feeling a little bit of stress in your body, that those types of things can help restore a sense of calm.
Yeah, and we've talked about this more in depth before, back in episodes 3 and 4. We walk through the basics of self-care. So if you're newer to this podcast, or if you'd like a refresher, you can go back and start there.
Yeah. And if you're feeling like you're not sure where to even begin finding peace, just start with those basics. Drink some water, get outside for a few minutes, go to bed a little bit earlier. Again, these things aren't small, but they are foundational and they've stood the test of time. Another step towards peace is letting the hard be hard. We don't have to rush to fix it or to hurry ourselves into that next phase of, oh, it could be so much worse.
Yeah, like, well, I wasn't even there. Why am I thinking that this is so hard? Because peace doesn't come from denial or just shutting down our true reaction to events that are happening. It comes from telling the truth. This is hard, and giving yourself permission to feel that without any judgment.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what it looks like to not rush in to fix something. It can sometimes be as simple as acknowledging the real truth that this hurts or this is hard, or taking 5 minutes to cry instead of distracting yourself with everybody's favorite cleaning the house or scrolling your phone. It's good to give your emotions a voice without jumping to the solutions, to let your body feel it and to process it before you try to cut it off.
Yeah, I felt this a lot yesterday. I am always trying to solve problems. And so I was getting to the point where I was consuming too much, right? I was like, I just need to keep learning more and more information so I understand this
Yeah.
more fully. Then I will be able to, come to a conclusion that will help me feel more grounded. And that's not always the case. What I need to do is get back into the present moment and probably just have a little chat with myself, like a little self-compassion moment. This is hard. This is big, hard news to take in. And you're doing okay.
Yeah, I think some of us are often afraid to go there because we're afraid it will spiral into something else. Like if we sit here, what will that turn into? But sitting in the hard is part of acknowledging the reality that this is painful and this is not the outcome that I wanted, or this is not what I would have wished. Why is this happening? And anxiety can grow when we let our mind start to spin with the what ifs or the worst case scenarios. Like, what if it had been my community or my children? Or what if our friends or our family were there? In the end, it's not really helpful to go there and play the what if game. It never creates anything good. So when the choice is between feeling something or spiraling into anxiety, your best bet is to just stay with the feeling and not spin to anxiety.
I like that. So even just the cue would be, finish the sentence like this feels, and then do that as many times as you need to do before you start to feel more grounded and in that you're being honest with yourself. That's beautiful.
Really being able to name what it is that you're feeling. And so it's one thing to know, oh, I'm not feeling well, like something doesn't feel right, to sit with it long enough for you to figure out what is the emotion that I am feeling here. And to do so without judgment or like, oh, you shouldn't feel that way, or this didn't even happen to you. Why are you so upset? It's like, oh no, this is something that's happening collectively in our world, and it does impact lots of people, including us who are watching it or seeing it.
Yeah. So maybe the line is feel the feeling, but don't feed the fear. Like you're saying, we name the grief, we name the sadness, or even the anger. Those things can happen without also letting your brain drag you down into a rabbit hole of imagining everything of what could go wrong. And, I caught myself feeling the need to visualize myself in some of these scenarios in order to empathize for those survivors more. But I've learned this in many different times in my life. But people who are going through something hard or tragic don't need me to feel what they're feeling. They need me to be able to show up in full strength and ability to help them through. Right?
Yeah.
Those are two different things.
Yeah. They don't need to be comforting you at this moment. So one of the ways you can help practice grounding yourself is put your hand on your heart, take some slow breaths. Notice things that are happening around you that can help you feel steady and safe. This is another way that you can process feelings in your body without them escalating into panic. So as you start to do that, as you notice yourself starting to put yourself in that situation, you just remind yourself that, you're here. This isn't happening to you. You're not in danger right now. this probably won't happen to you, and you can still feel sorry and compassion without taking on a lot of the heavier emotions that come with a tragedy like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And that
love
doesn't
that.
make you unloving or uncaring.
Yeah.
It's like you said earlier, we need people who aren't brought down by the tragedy of it
Yeah.
to help support the people who are.
Yeah. I found myself in church yesterday, like a headache coming on, because at that point I had already heard some of the news, and I found myself like rubbing my temples. And I was like, oh, wow. Again, just that presence in my moment, like, oh, I can feel something other than like
Yeah.
numbness. And all of a sudden my headache went away as I just, again, regained that presence in my own body.
Yeah. Way to go connecting with that. That was great.
Okay, let's move into our third step, which we're going to call leaning into faith or your values. Another way to steady yourself in turbulent times is to lean into the things that in the past have brought you peace, but things that are bigger than yourself. Connecting with your higher power, your spirituality. For me, that looks like connecting to my faith in God, but also connecting with your deepest values, that humanity is good. You know, maybe that's your deepest value. And this will give you a bigger frame than whatever crisis is in front of us.
Yeah, I noticed, unlike you, I didn't hear about it until after we left church. Apparently it was happening during the second hour of our meetings. And, some people had known, but it wasn't like being widely spread in the classroom that I was in. And so it was only afterwards when I got home that I heard about it. And I noticed a distinct feeling like I wanted to be with the people that I had just left. Like we were just there and we were just there together. And now that I was home, my husband was home, our 3 children who were still living at home were with us. And I wanted to be with my people, not just my family, but my church community and the people that I had just been with. Not because I wanted to be distracted from what was going on, but to, like you said, remember that there is still goodness in the world, that there are still good people, that that we are all part of humanity and wanting to be with those people. And so I had a meeting later that afternoon, and it was just good to be with people and to talk about it, not in a sensationalizing kind of way, but to just kind of process it together with other people after having gone through that process with my husband and my kids.
Yeah, I actually felt a similar pull to get out in the community. Just wanted evidence that the world was still actually circling around. And so I gathered up library books that we had and I just dropped them off at their outdoor bin. But just to see cars driving in our community, I'm like, see, this is evidence that, this community is still moving and people were still living.
That's a great example. And I'll just add this here for listeners who want to dive deeper into this. We actually talked about spiritual self-care back in episode 8. So that's not too many episodes from where we are right now. But in that episode, we shared practical ways to connect with awe and stillness and meaning. And so similar to what you were talking about, just getting outside and being able to see what is happening around you. Or I went and took my dog on a walk, and it was probably providential that my phone was just about dead. And I thought, you know what? It's probably a sign. I should probably just leave this here, no AirPods, no phone, and I'm just going to go outside and walk.
Yeah.
And for me, it felt very grounding to just be disconnected from the device that's delivering all of the news and just delivering nonstop commentary about what's happening and how many losses or casualties.
Right. One thing that I chose to do, and my kids, we kind of already had this plan, but we chose to decorate the house for Halloween. And that was a very present moment. We were outside trying to figure out where would we put up our, we have 2 small Halloween lights. But again, just being outside, taking deep breaths in fresh air for me is very regulating. And finding that presence again with the people I was with yesterday was helpful.
Yeah, that's a good segue into our next step, which is focusing on what you can control. So as you were talking about putting up the Halloween decorations, it's like, okay, what can I do? What is available right now? Because turbulent times can make us all feel very powerless, but peace grows when we focus on the things that we can do right now. And so I love that you started decorating with your kids for Halloween to give everybody something to do with their body. It's something you're in control of right now. You can make and create your way into peace.
Yeah. That something was very small and ordinary. I mean, exciting because it's the one time a year we do this,
Yeah.
but it did take me to set a 15-minute timer on my phone to get up and get going because I was just like feeling that little bit shock in my body.
Yeah.
But it was good.
Yeah. It's always that push and pull between I need to know what's going on and I know too much, or I already know everything that there is to know.
Yeah.
Some of the other things that our listeners might think about as far as what you can control, especially in your home. You know, we all know we can't control how long your spouse is going to be at the hospital. We sat down for dinner last night. It was about 6 o'clock and he was in his scrubs because he was going to eat dinner and then he had to go into the hospital and check on somebody. So I can't control that, but I can set the tone that I have in my space or in my home, whether it's something small like lighting a candle at dinner or playing music while I clean, even tidying up something, or like you did for decorating with Halloween, something so you don't feel swallowed up by the mess.
Yep. Another way that we can find control is through our relationships because we can't fix someone else's grief or fear or their response to the news. But you can send a quick text and say, you know, I'm thinking about you. Sustaining others and being with them, holding them up as they navigate their responses to whatever's happening.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And it reminded me that yesterday I did get a lovely text from one of my friends that just said, thinking of you and your family today, praying for peace for your community and the world, hugs. And it felt so good to kind of be seen
Yeah.
and for somebody to recognize that there were some hard things going on. And yeah, that just felt really good. So thank you for reminding me.
I got a text from my brother in our family group text, and his brought tears to my eyes. He said, my heart is broken learning about the tragedy that happened at the church in Michigan. They are in our thoughts and prayers, and you are too. I'm hoping you can all feel safe at church again soon. Just horrific and tragic. And the line where he said, I hope you all feel safe at church again. That's what brought tears to my eyes. I'm like, that put language to what I've been feeling. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I was kind of muscling through it yesterday. Like, this probably won't happen, but it's fine. But that compassion just, it's like,
Yeah.
that was so, and it was so loving and such a generous thing.
Yeah. There are so many good people in the world who want good things for all of us and for all of humanity.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to share in this section at least one tip, and I sometimes use this with my coaching clients, is the 2-column list. And maybe you're familiar with that practice or that exercise where you take a piece of paper, you can either fold it in half or just draw a line down the center of it. And on the left-hand side, you write down all of the things that you're worried about. And then you go to the right-hand side and you underline the parts that you can influence. And then you circle one thing that you can act on. So I'm very physical. Like I want to be able to see things. And sometimes if I leave things in my mind, that's where things can kind of go awry.
Yeah. Same.
That's how I can easily start spiraling. But when I can take them out of my mind and put them on a piece of paper, then I can see, okay, this is what it is. This is what it isn't. This is what I can control. This is what I can't. This is what I can do. And this is how I can make a difference. And so if that's something that is beneficial to any of our listeners, I would say, give that a try. There are pieces in all of this that we can influence or that we can make a difference in. The things we can't, and we have to choose to make peace with that and to let it go.
Yeah. I like what you're saying because the directions aren't cross out the things that you can't control, but it's just bringing focus to the things that we have influence over and that we can control.
Yeah.
So we're still acknowledging all of the worries, but then we're bringing focus to the things that we can control.
Yeah, and sometimes what we can control is whether or not we let somebody else in, which is going to bring us to our next piece. Do you want to start that one?
Yeah. We've kind of touched on this a little bit, but step 5 is to connect with others. Another big piece to finding peace in turbulent times is connection. This is something I constantly am feeling like I want more of, but we actually did a whole episode on this. Episode 7, we talked about the role of connection in physician families. Wasn't it called like Who's in Your Corner? I think is how the title of it.
I think it was, yeah.
Okay. And if you haven't listened to that one yet, we really encourage you to go back because we do a deeper dive there.
Yeah, connection is so vital, especially in seasons of stress, loss, or uncertainty, because the instinct, like we've all felt, is to kind of pull back, crawl under the covers and to stay in bed. But peace is often carried communally. So sometimes it's the thing that steadies us that we can't find within our own strength. But in leaning on someone else for a moment, that's where we can find it.
Yeah, I found myself craving to ask this friend of mine from medical school what her congregation planned to do as a result of this, because I wanted to glean strength from them. Like, if they can do this, if they're going to continue to gather, then I can too. I knew that was not an appropriate thing, but at the same time, our response doesn't have to be this big dramatic step. It can be something as simple as, again, just texting a friend and asking for what we need. This is a heavy week for me. Can you pray for me? Hey, would you be available to go on a walk with me? Even those little touches remind our nervous systems that you are not alone.
Yeah. I love that. And we share for this reason, because sometimes, like, if someone were to ask me to do something, I'd be like, oh, absolutely, I can do that. But maybe I don't always think of it. Like I did. I went for a walk by myself, but it's like, who can I take with me so that I can be reinforced and I can be a force of good for somebody else also who needs it. So again, kind of going back to don't isolate and don't stay by yourself, but who can you bring with you so that you're not carrying it alone? You can both carry it for each other. So I would say if you don't know where to start, begin with one safe person. Can you think of somebody who is in your life who listens without trying to fix, or someone who can hold your story without judgment, or even somebody who is sharing the same story and is going through the same thing? It doesn't have to be 10 people, but do you have one person that you can bring with you?
Yeah. And I just want to put a plug in that if you have children at home, we're not going to have an open conversation about what's going on, but asking them like, hey, can I have a hug? I'm having a hard time right now. Like, that connection still counts, and that will still help in our calming and that peacemaking effect.
Well, as you say that, I'm thinking about my older daughters. 2 of them had their phones with them at church. And as soon as one person finds out, they spread it to all of their friends. And so they found out about it. And, being able to have a conversation with them about what happened, about all of the things that are happening in the world and how they seem to be coming closer and closer together, and how even in the midst of that, there can be peace.
Yeah.
Because our audience is physician families, I just want to remind everybody again that community is one of the most protective factors against burnout for the doctor and for the non-doctor spouse, that we're not made to carry things alone. And so community is really important. And so like you were sharing, like in Facebook groups that people were talking about it and checking in on their friends or asking questions, it's like that is an opportunity to build community where we're all together focusing on the same thing, but not in an angry, revengeful way, but in real concern for a member of our community, several members of our community who are hurting.
Yeah, I love that. And this is also kind of random, but I also find a lot of peace knowing that some of this is repeated history. This isn't the first time in human history that tragedy like this is happening. I mean, it's happening all over the world, happening all over the country. But to also focus on the rebuilding, those who have, resisted or have rebuilt and in peaceful ways after huge tragedy, building community really is the answer to peacemaking. Exchanging positive peacemaking ideas is the answer.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I think that, again, leads nicely into our last point, is to look for the flecks of gold. And maybe I'll explain a little bit about that phrase, because some people might recognize it from the 3 and 30 podcast. She has a journal called Flecks of Gold, but the idea really comes from the idea of panning for gold. And most of the time you aren't going to stumble on like a huge nugget of gold. if you've ever seen anybody pan for gold, you're swirling water and sand and you're really focused on that pan because what you're looking for are these tiny little shining flecks. And they may seem small, but when you gather them together, they're absolutely precious.
Yeah, I think you and I were trying to gather evidences of like the good in humanity, but the flecks of gold can be even smaller and things that will always happen. And everyone's 24 hours. There's always some gold to be found. I love this picture, and I love the ability that I have to focus on the shimmers that happen in my daily life, even in hard seasons, even during away rotations. Is it something as small as sunlight coming through the window or spotting a ladybug on one of my favorite flowers outside? Or is it overcoming, a hard pattern that I have with one of my children? That's gold. Sometimes I call them tender mercies. I think that we all have angels in our life that are helping to bring us these flecks of gold moments. Really, it can be super small if we're looking for them.
Yeah, and I think the challenge sometimes is in actually actively looking for them. Like it might feel wrong when the world is in chaos. We might have the thought, oh, like I shouldn't be happy right now, or that I shouldn't be experiencing joy. But we know that those things often come together, that you can feel both things. You can be in pain and hurting, and you can still have these small mercies and miracles and little glimmers of hope and joy and laughter. You can have both at the same time. I shared on my stories today that I came into my office and my daughter had written me a cute little thank you card. And at first when I opened it, I was kind of irritated because it's like my stationery is disappearing. It's just going everywhere. And then I open it and I just read these sweet little words from a 9-year-old. And thank you, Mom. You have raised 5 children and 1 dog. You are strong, smart, nice, pretty, kind, and a hard worker. So keep shining your light.
Oh my goodness.
I know. It's the absolute sweetest thing. And it's like, oh, even when things are difficult and there's tragedy hanging in the air, there are still these beautiful moments that we can experience. And we should. Like, these are the things that help sustain us and keep us going. Whether, small or large, there are opportunities every day for just these little moments of joy that just tell us that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. That is so sweet. I love the words of babes. I think they have such powerful impact. Yeah, those words carry me. that was to you. And I'm like, wow, that is so tender.
You know, she'll write you one too. She left one for my husband that was very similar, but just these little sweet expressions that really do brighten our day. They are really flecks of gold. And so I told her, so whenever my daughter writes me something sweet, I put the date on it and then I put it in the little box so I can always remember, because that's another it's like I have it and now I can go back to it and I can look at it whenever I need that little
reminder,
a little boost. Yeah. Things are good in the world and there are moments of just bright sunshine, and she's certainly one of them in ours.
Yeah, I'm starting to reflect back on the last few days. I'm trying to think of my flecks of gold. Honestly, yesterday, things have been more challenging doing the whole solo parenting thing. And yesterday was very smooth sailing. Especially solo church. Sometimes that's very hard. And that bedtime was smooth sailing. And I just felt like being able to reflect back on that the whole day. And as I reported back to my spouse, we call each other at night or, whenever he's off work. Yeah. And I just said, today actually was a really good day and it was smooth sailing, but, there was no reason that it was.
Yeah.
It just happened, and it was definitely a fleck of gold day.
Yeah, absolutely. We collect those anytime we have them. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
So let's recap. Here are the 6 steps that Kendra and I have outlined for you today. Number 1, let's go back to the basics. Number 2, let the hard be hard. Number 3, anchor in faith or values. Number 4, focus on what you can control. Number 5, connect with others. And number 6, look for, and I would say share or document your flecks of gold.
Yeah, good point. And then peace isn't always about having a perfect world. We never will, but it is about creating steadiness within yourself so that you can keep showing up with hope and love even when the world feels heavy.
We hope that these steps can help you feel that steadiness. So before we go, Kendra, let's both answer this question. What is one small way that you think you can do to create steadiness for yourself this week?
I've already started this. The weather here has finally cooled down. On Saturday, I had started spending some time outside, and then I noticed myself gravitating outside. So for me, it's really going to be spending some time outside, just listening to the sounds in my neighborhood, petting my dog, walking my dog. So I would say everything conspired to make getting outdoors a lot easier.
Love that.
How about you? What are you going to do?
I think for me, I started today too, waking up 10 minutes earlier to step into that, anchor into my faith and values. So for me, that looks like prayer, studying scripture, and then letting that trickle into having a less rushed morning. So I'm not adding more stress into my day or my children's day as we buckle up for the day.
Yeah, that's wonderful. All right, so let's pose this question to our listeners too. And maybe if you'd like to share with us on Instagram or by email, let us know. What is one small way that you can create steadiness for yourself this week?
Yes, and if this episode was encouraging to you, we would love for you to take a moment to rate, review this podcast, and share it. This is one of the best ways to help more physician spouses find this community and to feel less alone.
Yeah, we are so grateful that you're here. We're grateful that you're listening and to have this opportunity to talk to you and include you in our conversation.
Yes, until next time, let's take a deep breath, and you're doing better than you think.
Absolutely. Have a great week.